Hello everyone. It's been quite a bit since I posted my last video, and I wanted to kind of give back to you all by doing this long form video in the form of an iceberg. For a while now, I've been so interested and just really enjoyed the whole iceberg genre of YouTube videos, and I've wanted to give it a shot myself to kind of go over some things that I found really interesting. Since icebergs tend to be very interesting just on their own because there's a vast amount of information and different topics to discuss. For me personally, I've always been a huge fan of archaeology and artifacts, so today we're going to be going over the out-of-place artifacts iceberg, and that essentially pertains to artifacts that have been discovered that don't necessarily have a full understanding or have been located in places they probably shouldn't be. With that, I hope you guys all enjoy this video. This is kind of me giving back to you guys for being away for so long and not really putting out any content of actual merit recently. So this is my attempt to kind of give you a longer video to watch for now, and again, just kind of give back to you guys for being so supportive and sticking around during this kind of waiting period of me not really being around. If you are new here, my name is Andre, and I typically cover things like true crime or conspiracies and urban legends with a little bit of history here and there, primarily in like the Japan area, but I do want to kind of expand outward to different regions and cultures. And in my most recent video, I also mentioned that I probably am going to be posting more commentary stuff or gameplay stuff. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, definitely subscribe. It helps out the channel so much. And I do have a lot of things planned out in the future, and I'm just super excited to get it all out to you. But yeah, also I filmed this in the period of like a month, so you might see my clothing change or the colors in the background change. I'll try and keep things consistent, but I am doing this every weekend and covering a few topics on this iceberg. But without further ado, let's get into the out-of-place artifacts iceberg. The Nasca Lines. These intricate lines that seem to depict animals and other beings were discovered in southern Peru. They were created between 500 BC and 500 AD and are believed to have been made by making depressions or shallow incisions in the desert floor and removing pebbles, leaving different colored dirt exposed, creating these depressions in the ground. Leading up to 2020, between 80 and 100 new figures had been found with the use of drones, and archaeologists believe there are even more out there waiting to be discovered. Anthropologists, ethnologists, and archaeologists have studied the ancient Nazca culture to try to determine the purpose of the lines and figures. One hypothesis is that the Nazca people created them to be seen by deities in the sky. Another theory, obviously, was raised up to say that these were used to be some sort of a landing pad or airstrip or something for UFOs and aliens, because you can see them from space. Someone has to say it's about aliens, but what if? Maybe, who knows? Who knows? But I honestly believe, just because religion has a huge history with so many cultures, it probably was to kind of offer some sort of viewing for higher powers and deities and stuff like that. Nonetheless, they're still really cool. You can only see them when you're like in a plane or something, so next time you're flying to Peru or past Peru, definitely peek out the window. You might be lucky enough to see one. The Shroud of Turin, or the Holy Shroud, is a piece of linen cloth that, when looked at or placed on a black negative, seems to depict the face of a very familiar figure, Jesus of Nazareth. Many people who are part of the religious aspect of life, I guess is a way to say it, believe that this was the linen that was used to wrap Jesus after the crucifixion, in which, after such a long period of being wrapped, his body had been imprinted, or his image rather, was imprinted on this piece of linen cloth. There are many skeptics, as you might believe, even within the Catholic Church. After extensive research, it seems that this has been discovered to be possibly a medieval artifact, and even if it's not the actual cloth that wrapped Jesus, it is still really cool. Whatever it is, whoever is imprinted on this thing, on this piece of cloth, it is still really cool because it is still considered an ancient artifact because it was 500 years ago. So still really cool. Let me know what you think about this. I think it's still really interesting. I'm not necessarily someone who is religious. It's still a really cool piece of history, whether or not it has any religious ties to it. The Kensington Runestone is a slab of stone that is covered in runes and was claimed to have been discovered in Minnesota, USA in 1898. A Swedish immigrant by the name of Olof Ullman claims to have discovered this piece in a township of Salem in Douglas County. It was renamed to the Kensington Runestone due to the nearest settlement being named Kensington. After extensive research, it was discovered and has been claimed to have been a hoax, but it does have an occult following who claim that it is real, and it is more proof of early settlers from Europe coming to the Americas long before. The stone has been translated, and I will read what it says for you right now. 8 Geats and 22 Norwegians on an exploration journey from Vinland to the west. We had camp by 2 skerries, 1 day's journey north from the stone. We were to fish one day. After we came home, we found 10 men, red of blood and dead. AVM, or Ave Virgo Maria, save us from evil. We have 10 men by the sea to look after our ships. 14 days' travel from this island. In the year 1362. The Puna Bell was discovered in northern New Zealand by a man named William Colenso, and it was used by women from northern New Zealand to boil potatoes, but upon further research, they had noticed that there were inscriptions along the rim of this bell that were written in Tamil. So with that newfound information, they dated the bell to be 500 years old, and gives off the impression of being an out-of-place artifact due to New Zealand and southern India being about 12,000 kilometers away. Now, this may not be evidence that the people from India at the time knew of New Zealand, but rather this item had been traded across the sea when there was a lot of trade happening in these regions, and it was either dropped off somewhere and kind of moved its way to New Zealand, or it does give evidence of this and shows that the native people of India at the time were very aware of Australia and the New Zealand area. Again, with a lot of these artifacts, it's just so interesting that these pieces have traveled many, many miles and kilometers to get to the resting place that they were discovered in. And once they're discovered, it leads a lot of questions in our history, but also gives us a lot of answers to what might have happened in that time frame. Personally, I don't think the bell's that interesting. It's just a bell, but the fact that it got so far and ended up being in New Zealand, of all places, from southern India, is just crazy to me. Absolutely just crazy. Makes you really wonder what other kind of artifacts are out there just waiting to be discovered. The main penny, or the Goddard coin, is a Norwegian silver coin that is claimed to have been found in Maine in 1957. The strange thing about this coin, or interesting rather, that it's been dated in the times of Olaf Haraldsson, or Olaf Kiri, I believe, who was the king of Norway from 1067 until his death in 1093. The reason this is so fascinating is because this predates the Christopher Columbus claims to discovering America, which is known as the pre-Columbian transoceanic contact. These are more so speculative theories, but with discoveries like this coin in Maine, almost give leeway for those theories to be more taken as fact. And again, the claims of finding it in Maine are just that, they're just claims, but as more artifacts are discovered in America that predate Columbus, as a lot of people seem to already kind of understand or speculate that people were here before Columbus or traveled to the Americas before Columbus did, these discoveries give more claim to that theory. This theory states that people from Africa, Asia, and Oceania had visited the Americas long before Christopher Columbus did, but it does say that people from those regions were here before Christopher Columbus did, but for some reason, Christopher Columbus has rose to fame as being the discoverer of the Americas. But with this pre-Columbian transoceanic contact, saying that the African people and Europeans had made contact with the Native Americans that were here initially, long before Christopher Columbus had ever even thought about it. Or he wasn't even alive, I guess, so long before he was born. There's not much more about the coin and more factual evidence that says that this actually happened, So it's kind of up to you for now until more artifacts are discovered. The Sakara Bird is an artifact that was found in 1898 during the excavation of the tomb of Padi Imin in Sakara, Egypt. It has been dated to approximately 200 BCE and is now housed in Cairo at the Egyptian Museum. There's very little understanding on this artifact specifically due to the lack of period documentation, but there are a lot of theories on what it could be. Some believe it could just be a little toy that was for an elite child, or others say it might be a type of weather vane, which is those little things that you see on top of like farms and stuff with the little chicken that has like the north, south, east, west to kind of tell weather patterns or wind or whatever. Some believe it was also a boomerang for hunting waterfowl, like some sort of bird within the area. But other than that, it is still unexplained, and there are a lot of speculations on what this thing really is and what it was used for. Some believe that the Sakara Bird is early evidence of the Egyptians having knowledge of aviation as well. There are a lot of theories surrounding Egypt and their level of knowledge when it comes to many different topics, which some, as I've gone through and looked more, are kind of believable, but I also don't want to be like some sort of weird conspiracy theorist. A lot of those things in Egypt and the history behind it is just so fascinating to me, and I've watched a lot of podcasts that kind of discuss things and how certain levels of knowledge have been known, people have had certain knowledge in the past, and we've had to just rediscover it, which goes into the next topic of this iceberg. The helicopter hieroglyphs. These hieroglyphs that seem to depict helicopters are discovered throughout the temple of Seti I at Abydos. And while this does depict a helicopter, many researchers chalk this up to just pareidolia, which is seeing images that we know in our minds and portraying them onto things that have a similar idea. There are many examples of pareidolia. I can go ahead and put some up right now to where I can say, oh, this looks like Jesus, or this looks like this. And with or without me telling you, based on our prior knowledge of things that look kind of like this image, we relay it to something that we know of in the real world. But aside from the helicopter image itself, we still don't really know what it was for or the meaning of it, and it still remains a mystery to this day. The Babylon Nokia. So this one is obviously fake, but it was a piece of artwork done by Carl Weingartner in the form of a clay tablet shaped like a mobile phone, which resembles a Nokia. Not much really to talk about when it comes to this one. It's just kind of an art project. He wanted to make it seem like a long time ago there was a Nokia lying around and he discovered it. Not a big deal. I don't know why it's on the iceberg, but it is still kind of cool to look at. The Voyage Manuscript is an illustrated codex handwritten in an unknown script referred to as Voynachese. The vellum, or animal skin, in which it is written has been carbon dated to the early 15th century and has indicated the manuscript may have been composed in Italy during the Italian Renaissance. While little is known about the origins, authorship, and purpose of the manuscript, hypotheses range from a script for a natural language or constructed language, an unread code, cipher, or other form of cryptography, or even just a hoax or a work of fiction. The manuscript consists of around 240 pages, but there's been evidence that show pages are missing. The text is written from left to right, and some pages are foldable sheets of varying sizes. Some of the pages have fantastical illustrations and diagrams, some that are very crudely colored, with sections of the manuscript showing people, fictitious plants, astrological symbols, and more. The Voynich manuscript, or as some people call it, the Voynich code, has been studied by both professional and amateur cryptographers, including American and British code breakers from both World War I and World War II. All of these code breakers and cryptographers were unsuccessful. The mystery of its meaning and origin has both excited and puzzled many researchers. The Voyage Manuscript is one of those things that I've heard about for a long time, since I was about 14 years old, and there's so much information that I could probably do a whole deep dive on just that alone. So if you do want to see a video about me going over that and looking more into it, let me know. I would love to. I'm not a cryptographer or anything like that by any means, so I don't know the first thing about trying to break codes. My friend is, actually. I could reach out to him, but I've already given him like a couple others to look at and try. But yeah, if you want to see a deep dive into that, let me know. I think that'd be kind of cool, kind of fun. I've never really looked into like something like this before. Oh, I'm still recording. Whoops. In 1936, a young couple was walking down the Red Creek River in London, Texas, when they discovered a peculiar rock that had a piece of wood sticking out of it. The man, Max Hahn, decided to take this home as he thought it was rather interesting, and about a month later, he decided to crack open this piece of rock, which was then discovered to house the head of a hammer, which earned its name the London Hammer. The hammerhead itself is approximately 6 inches, or 15 centimeters long, and has a diameter of 1 inch. Rather than being used for large objects, some suggest that this was rather used for fine work or soft metals. The hammerhead itself consists of 96.6% iron, 2.6% chlorine, and 0.74% sulfur. As more and more media began to cover this story, it was brought to creationist Carl Baugh in 1983, who claimed the artifact was a monumental pre-flood discovery. Other observers claim that it's more synonymous with 19th century American tools and is consistent with a miner's hammer. So aside from that, there's really not much else about the hammer. I personally don't think it's that interesting. It's just a piece of metal in a rock, like a limestone rock. But as we get deeper and deeper into the iceberg, there's going to be a lot more that I find really, really interesting, and I think you will too. In Coventry, England, a magnet fisher took his 2 sons out to a quarry to do some searching for some precious metals. This city in England is known for the medieval cathedral, which was left in ruins after a World War II bombing. But for this video, we're going to be talking about a strange discovery that a magnet fisherman had found with his 2 sons. While they were searching for different metals at this river, they had eventually reeled in almost 60 mysterious cubes thought to show a sacred numerical inscription on each side. The man, Will Reed, found the haul of engraved lead squares, believed to be connected to a mysterious Hindu prayer ritual, while out sifting through the water. The cubes are about 1 inch tall, 1 inch wide, and 1 inch in depth, and can be held between your finger and your thumb. And on each side, there's a 3x3 grid with strange characters in each box. Upon further research, all of the cubes are identical, possibly because they contain a numerical formula to summon the protection of Rahu, which is described as a planet with godlike powers. According to the Srivinayaka astrology website, Rahu's sphere of control includes thieves, magicians, snakes, poison, jails, and isolated places. Worshippers who place the so-called magic square in running water receive protection from Rahu from hidden enemies, wrong diagnosis of illness, and deceit. Although all this information is speculative and there's no real answer, to this day, the puzzle is still incomplete, as no one has been able to put a date on the objects or explain why so many would end up being thrown into a quiet river in Coventry. Alright, so there you have it. That is the first tier of the out-of-place artifacts. I was planning to get all of it done and uploaded before tomorrow, which would be Monday the 5th, but I got kind of busy. I had other things to do, so I'm gonna actually break this one up into parts. But I do have a different iceberg video that I'm working on that I want to do in its entirety. So hopefully I can get to that and get that uploaded, because I would hate to do it in parts. I don't know about you guys, but I have been really into this like long form content, whether it's from like Wendigoon and it's like a 3-hour video, or podcasts from like Charlie, or all these other different people. I've just loved the longer videos because I can just listen and watch while I'm doing my job. But let me know what you guys are into. Like I said, I'll do this one in parts, but then for the next one, I can either do in parts as well, or I can do, you know, just one long video. My biggest thing right now is time, so the parts kind of help me break things up and at least get something out to you guys. Because if I do just a longer form video, you probably won't see a video for like a couple of months at least, just because I am very busy and something is happening right now in my life that I'm very excited for. Very excited for. I can't talk about it yet, but it's going to kind of change the trajectory of my life entirely. And I am so excited to share with you guys, but I'll probably talk about it in the next video because it'll probably be about a month or so until I get one out again. But for now, I'm going to fix my glasses. For now, what I can tell you is I'm going to be on vacation from the 5th until the 15th. And if everything goes well during this vacation, then I will let you know in the next video kind of what is going on and what to look forward to, what I'm going to be doing, all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. I feel like I kind of went through things kind of quick. A lot of the first tier are things that are either like debunked or there's not really much to it without getting too conspiratorial in terms of like ancient civilizations and aliens and all that. I mean, if you guys like that stuff, I totally can, because I'm super down. When I'm with one of my friends, that's all I ever talk about is like, oh, what if giants were real? Giants are real. Like, there's microchips and dinosaurs, shit, like, you know, stuff like that. So I totally can go that route if that's what you guys are into. I just don't personally want to focus too much on that. I kind of want to just kind of go through the base, at least for the base ones, at least for like the first couple tiers or so. So I just kind of want to explain what it is, get a brief description of it. And then when certain things kind of pique my interest more, then I'll kind of go more in depth and talk more about those. But this first tier is going to be super quick, super simple. There are things going towards the bottom that are super, super interesting that I had no idea about. And I don't think a lot of you would either. They're super like niche and macabre. And I had actually sent this over to a buddy of mine, and he was also just like, dude, I've never heard of any of these. What are these? What the heck? So yeah. Look forward to the next video. It will be more interesting. There's also more things in this video, or in that iceberg. I'm looking at it right now. There's about maybe 25 things on there versus like the 10 or 11 that we're on here now. Thank you so much for being patient with me and the uploads. Again, with what's going on, I'm having to work a lot so I can plan for what's going on in the future, potentially. Super excited, super excited. But thank you guys so much for sticking around still and waiting. I do really appreciate it. This is something that I've always wanted to do, and I really do enjoy being able to do it, not only because you guys are here, but having the equipment to just make it happen in general. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you all in the next video. Be safe, drink water, and that's it. Goodbye.
Call me asparagus.